If you erase the Nile from the map, you erase ancient Egypt with it. No pyramids, no temples, no pharaohs, just desert. The Nile wasn't simply a river. It was a living system, a calendar, a highway, a food factory, and a sacred force all at once. And for thousands of years, it turned a narrow strip of green into one of the most powerful civilizations the world has ever seen. Look at Egypt from above and you understand the miracle instantly: endless sand, and then a ribbon of life. The Nile runs like an artery through the desert, and along its banks, everything changes: soil, plants, animals, people. For early communities, that meant something simple but revolutionary: reliable water in a harsh world. Villages grew near the river because the river meant survival. Over time, that narrow corridor became a chain of settlements, then towns, then cities, until the Nile Valley became the backbone of a unified kingdom. The secret wasn't just water. It was the flood. Every year, the Nile rose and spread across the fields, leaving behind a layer of fertile silt. The Egyptians even had a name for this contrast: Kemet, the black land, rich and alive, versus the surrounding desert, the red land, harsh and dangerous. This flood wasn't random in their eyes. It was a rhythm. A promise. A reset. When the waters withdrew, the earth was soft, dark, and ready, like nature itself had plowed the fields. Ancient Egyptian life followed the Nile's cycle so closely that their year was built around it. They spoke of seasons like Ake, the inundation, when the flood covered the fields; Parate, the growing season, when the land emerged and crops were planted; Shimu, the harvest, when grain was collected under the hot sun. And the result was abundance: emmer wheat, barley, flax for linen, vegetables, fruit orchards, and papyrus. The river didn't just feed people, it supported an entire economy, from bread and beer to textiles and trade goods. To an Egyptian farmer, the flood wasn't only practical, it was sacred. Because the difference between life and hunger could be a few centimeters of water level. A good flood meant full granaries. A weak flood meant fear. So the Nile became a blessing in the deepest sense, a gift that had to be respected, measured, and celebrated. Temples and officials tracked the river closely, and communities offered rituals of gratitude and protection, because when your entire civilization depends on one natural cycle, that cycle becomes holy. Here's where it gets even more interesting: the Nile didn't just create food. It helped create government. After each flood, boundaries between fields could blur. So land had to be remeasured, managed, and recorded. That meant scribes, surveying, administration, and taxes. The Egyptians also built irrigation systems, basins, dikes, canals, and controlled flooding to push water further from the main river. Managing water required coordination. Coordination required authority. And authority became the state. In a real way, the Nile didn't just nourish Egypt, it trained Egypt to become organized. Now add the second miracle: transportation. The Nile was Egypt's highway, running north-south through the entire kingdom. And nature made it perfect for travel both ways. The current flows north, so boats could drift downstream with ease. The winds often blow south to north, so ships could raise sails and travel south against the current. That meant Egypt could move people, troops, messages, food, and stone faster than almost any ancient civilization. The Nile connected Upper and Lower Egypt like a single road with water instead of dust. When you think of pyramids and temples, think of logistics, and the Nile is the hidden engine. Limestone from quarries, granite from Aswan, massive statues, obelisks, timber, grain taxes, much of it traveled by boat. Barges and ships carried heavy loads that would have been nearly impossible to move long distances over sand. The river linked quarries to construction sites, linked provinces to the capital, linked farmland to storage and redistribution. Without the Nile, Egypt's monumental architecture would have been dramatically smaller, or simply impossible at that scale. The Nile didn't shape only the economy, it shaped belief. Egyptians imagined the afterlife as a continuation of ideal life, the field of reeds, a perfected Egypt, green and fertile. Even paradise looked like the Nile Valley. The cycle of flood, growth, harvest, and flood again became the ultimate symbol of renewal. Death wasn't the end. It was part of a cycle. Just like the river that disappeared into the land and returned, life could transform and continue. So when people say Egypt is the gift of the Nile, they're not being poetic, they're being literal. The Nile gave food, time, travel, unity, wealth, and meaning. It created a civilization not by magic, but by rhythm, water, silt, sun, and human organization. And even today, when you look at Egypt from the sky, you can still see the ancient truth: a river wrote history, one flood at a time.